if you look at a lot of the sectors that are recovering, I think they might solve some of the problems, especially if you look at F&B, if you look at supermarkets, if you look at malls. These sectors were much more drastically affected. And of course, you can see a very good pace of recovery across Southeast Asia. Though having said that, certain countries are still well below. If you look at particularly, say, Thailand, and predominantly Thailand was the bellwether for a lot of the pandemic period. It was over 80% across pretty much the whole year, except for the last 2 months. If you see, it's actually back to 50%. So, I mean, these sectors are heavily affected in certain countries more so than others. But I think the other disparity to really look at is kind of regional disparity. If you see the recovery in Indonesia, a big part of the recovery is inside the Java island. If you look at in Malaysia, a lot of the recovery is actually within the Klang Valley, which is the economic hub. The Borneo states are pretty much still closer to 60 to 70% at this point of time. And I think that's the disparity probably to also look at. And that's exactly what the dashboard does. It gives you a very clear view at essentially a state-by-state level of recovery of these sectors.
Okay, you're talking about the pickup, and I want to understand sector-wise how this is playing out. So yes, the F&B sector is coming back, consumer electronics is coming back. When does the demand broaden out, you think, more broadly to other elements of consumption, whether it's travel, tourism, or even automotives?
Yeah, it's hard for us to call that, right? I think it is a function of course, the policies and more restrictions easing down. But clearly, if you look at from a data point of view, travel and essentially usage of travel apps is still at an all-time low, closer to 20 to 30%, and that's because of all the cross-border restrictions. If you look at, however, if you look at a couple of other things, for example, usage of health and fitness. That's actually at 140%, more than pre-pandemic. I think we all will remain quite healthy. And if you see, that's not negatively correlated to any lockdown easing. We are using a lot of health and fitness apps. We are staying healthy despite lockdowns or not. So there are certain trends, I think, that are going to outlast beyond lockdowns for sure.
Srinivas, what data sources are you drawing on to build this dashboard?
Yeah, essentially we look at all the data from kind of digital apps and of course overlay that over location information. This data is essentially anonymized and then processed to actually build the index against these categories.